Hey guys, I'm SolGoat, and I've been playing ESEA League since Season 19, way back in 2015. I've been IGLing for a bunch of different teams ever since, and I've have a lot of advanced seasons, a few ECL seasons, and I've been to a lot of lands here in NA. And today we're going to be watching an ESEA NA Open 1-8 playoff match. So we have 5 in pit and no aim, no brain here in map 3 Mirage of their playoff series. So let's get into the demo. Alright, so getting here into the pistol round, we are on map 3 of their playoff series. Had a knife round, a no aim, no brain, I believe, 1 and pick CT side. And then we have 5 in pit as the T side. Even though we're in open 1-8, I think 5 in pit. They must have been pugging a lot through the season because most of their team in the match page is level 10, whereas No Aim No Brain is a bit more of a mixture between levels like 7 through 10. So it'll be interesting to see how these two teams approach the map. Looks like we're going to have a bit of a mid split, 2 smokes, 3 smokes here from the T side as they're going to set up a B split. That's a bit unfortunate. Nice shot from U-Directs there to set up the little hole in the smoke and spot the cat run up. And it kind of gets the split killed before it can even really start. Gonna turn my in-game volume down a little bit. I feel like it's a little too loud for watching a demo. Not able to win the 1v4, and we're gonna go straight into an anti-eco here. T's, I like that they're just kind of playing slow. They're getting a game plan ready. They do not get the pick going out mid, and they're just going to group up Palace, looking like they're going for a Palace pop. Just 2 flashes. These lamp flashes, they're a bit better for going out ramp, but the deep flash after will be nice. Not quite getting the jungle guy. It might have just been a bit unlucky, or might have rotated in after the flashes popped. Not too bad, though. The lamp flash, what it does is it pops right here, pretty much right in front of ramp, and its main design is to blind people that are maybe default or at this door angle and close ramp, so that coming out ramp is a lot easier. So it's not going to do too much for Palace unless you're just doing it to try to make them look towards ramp after the flash comes out potentially, but it might just be better to throw like 2 deeper flashes, or you could throw like a deep flash and then a flash over Palace with your 2 flashes, but nothing super serious there. We are going to get our first buy round, and I actually need to change a setting real quick so we can actually see their buys. I really like having the big player count in for the middle of the rounds. Makes it easier to know if you're in like a 2v2 or a 2v1 or a 2v3, but not great for watching demos. Another B split coming in from the T side. I do kind of want to go back real quick. It looks like they threw the same nades they threw on the pistol round with the con smoke, window smoke. And they're going to have pretty decent spacing up cat. They're only going with 2, as it looks like 2 people are going to be staying behind either to lurk, or they're just a little late getting up cat. And they are going to be punished for that as well, but they do still get up cat, and they are going to be able to get on the B site. I do like that you're just kind of taking the fight against the scout there. It's maybe not needed in a 3v2, but a lot of the time, if a scout's like going or sticking around a little too much and then going for a retake, it's really easy to just kind of get the kill and keep the round simple. So I don't mind swinging there, even if it's not necessarily the optimal play. Like, technically, retakes, you should just kind of not peek, make the CTs kind of commit to what you're doing, but against scouts, it can just be a lot simpler to just get the kill, even though you're maybe a little too low to swing it. I'd say the main thing for the T's is if you do want to commit to that cat push-up, having one person staying like chair, boxes, valley, wherever, holding the smoke pushes and trying to make it easier for you to get up cat is good, but 2 is maybe a little bit of an overcommit, so could have had more numbers up cat, but it works out either way for them, as they are going to have some more good mid-util with the window smoke. I think that's their cat smoke as well, and top mid smoke. Maybe using a few too many nades to get this early mid control, but they are at least committing with it, so they're not wasting the nades. If you're just throwing these nades and not going out mid, they're it's definitely too much, but since you're going fast, I don't mind it. The cat smoke is not nearly as popular now as it used to be, especially with how good con smokes are and being able to break open smokes, but they do make a good use of it this round, get all the kills that they need. I kind of do want to go back though, and I want to see how the CTs are reacting to this mid take. So if we look at it, we have one player jumped out into Valley, one pushing through con, a window player, and a cat. I do like playing retake A so you get extra numbers in mid. This is a really solid thing to do. A lot of teams do this where you just full retake A since it's the easier site to retake and get numbers mid to try to shut down mid plays from the T side. Miss the cross, so it gets caught out and dies from the wide swing. It is a nice trade though, so nothing too bad. But now you're in a 4v4 and your mid fight kind of hasn't panned out. You have one player that's fully smoked off cat, so they're gonna have to push through a smoke to help you guys. And you know, I don't think they know about underpass, but they should know about, I believe, 2 people top mid. I believe this guy saw both, or sorry, I don't know. They know at least 1 mid, and it's likely 2. I'd say it's a safe assumption that they have 2 mid here with how aggressively they fought that and the fact that they committed 3 smokes. So you need to be a little worried about one lurk in the extremities. In this case, he's going to be ramp, but they don't know that. And there could potentially be a second lurk towards B because they don't know about this underpass guy. So in this kind of situation, it's not really feasible to fight back for mid immediately. What you can do is you can say, all right, they committed a lot of util mid. They threw top mid, cat, window. That means we know that they're going to have the majority of their numbers mid, and they're not going to have good resmoke. So you can like push into ladder here on cat, get into a spot where you're preventing the B split, and you can still fight mid late, and you could stay close window as the window player, and wait for all of the mid nades to fade pretty much. Staying in con is a lot harder because there's a bit of a bottom con smoke, but it's a little far out. And more importantly, that it's easy to go through these con smokes if you have numbers and you're kind of isolated into a fight. It's a lot harder to go up cat or through a window just because of the way like these 2 angles work on cat and the smoke taking up all a window. So you might want to either fall out of con and either double window if you guys want to keep fighting for mid, or what you can do is you have both these 2 players, they just get onto A and they either take space into ramp or palace, or you could maybe justify playing really passive, but down like the mid map control, and in a 4v4, it'd probably be a lot better to get a 2v1 isolated fight on wherever you think the A-lurk might be. If you think they're palace or ramp, try to get that space and make it harder for the T's to split up A on you. But let's see what the CTs did end up doing here. They do get into ladder. I like that play. Stays jungle with the op, and I think playing a little too aggressive in con because you're just really isolated here. He does get 1 kill and is able to fall back, so it works out. And I do like staying close window for the nades to fade, but unfortunately just misses the shot. Otherwise they're in a decent spot here. And yeah, and then because you stay in con, they have their ramp player walk out. They know 1 con, 1 window, so they either have an A anchor or a B anchor. So walking out A is a really good play from the lurk here, because you either find a lurk and you know B's free, or you find an A anchor and you know B's free, or you don't and you have all this space. So probably just a little over committing to the mid fight. You either need to, maybe not over committing, because going for this con fight kind of risky. It works out for you really nice, and I think at that point you need to kind of quit while you're ahead and either just play with your teammate in window so you can try to get like another 2-for-1 trade and just fully give A, or you need to just say, okay, we got the man advantage we wanted, let's just give mid, we know they have numbers there, and let's get onto a site setup or something. But overall, not a bad round. They had their game plan, they stuck with it. I like staying around mid, even if they fought it a little differently than I would have. I really like staying around mid from the CTs as a reaction there, and not just losing the early fight or going even in the trade and then just immediately giving it up. And a nice job from the Ts as well to keep the round like fairly scrappy and use all the util that they threw out early. Looks like they are going to go for more mid nades, but not really committing for it this time. They do have one player fighting mid solo, and he goes 1-for-1, calls the push up to top mid. I think once you have that top mid push, you could probably accelerate a little bit B here, and they are just going to keep walking up. Looks like the op might just try to walk out. I do like this play. You don't need to run, but just going straight for the B take is pretty small, pretty solid. Does spot the cat player out, misses some shots though, so that doesn't go great for them, and they lose the A-lurk. I think one thing that you probably could have done differently here is just have the A-lurk go out a bit more aggressively a bit sooner, so that you guys can try to pull the B anchor out of position while you're walking up on him, because you know that they're fighting mid, so they're definitely ready for him to be cat there, but you might be able to pull the cat player towards A if you make more noise coming out ramp sooner rather than doing it like at the same time. But overall, fairly solid round from the T's to actually get it done. They do have some decent decision making. I do like that the A-lurk kind of commits to going A once the mid push comes out and you're accelerating up B, just because once you're in that spot, that's kind of the best thing you can do. The only other thing you could have done would be recognize you have the packed grouped up B and one person getting info mid. So your only reaction if this mid guy sees a push is to pretty much go out B in that situation. So you could just play a lot further back, like just sitting on the stairs here in T-spawn and holding for early pushes, and then you can just group B. That's another potential option, but when you're already close to ramp, you kind of need to commit to the lurk. So good job from them to do that. Just maybe even if it's a worse timing for you to fight here, it can be a lot better for you to get spotted and make them think that the pack might be ramp and palace, and reacting to the mid push by going out A, so that makes it easier for your B teammates. But overall, not a bad round from the T's, and the CTs do get 4 kills, so they really have to be happy with that as well. Another cat boost, and they are playing really aggressively in mid. I don't know if we just missed the window smoke. I think it must have been missed, because they've been throwing a lot of mid util. Or maybe they have the top mid smoke, so they didn't think they needed it. But they do have one underpass player that is able to spot out the mid push, and that really breaks the CT setup. They're in a really weird spot now where they lose mid, and Udrix is playing really committed in connector again. I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of it, but it worked out well for him last time, so I get that he wants to keep doing it. Seems like he feels like he has a good read for how the T's are going to be approaching mid, and he does get another kill. And now you're in a... This is like a really pivotal point of the round. Your early mid defense kind of failed. You had one person jump out window, they're playing behind the con smoke, and they just die to underpass. You don't get anything. You don't even really get good info, because while the T's were out mid, they do quietly leave. They're all walking back towards A, and you don't know if they're top mid, you don't know if they're leaving. You have one person stay in connector and he brings back the round to an even spot, but once you don't get traded here, that's a decent amount of info. If you kill this guy in Valley from con and no one swings to trade you, like, you don't even hear people run around, like, you don't hear footsteps from like someone boxes leaving, you don't hear footsteps from someone running up cat, running through under, or running away under, any of those things. So you should have a decent idea at that point that they don't have a lot of people mid. They maybe have one person still there that didn't want to make noise because they're just too far away to trade. But if they have 3 people mid, someone's going to try to trade that guy most of the time. That's a really big piece of info that you can react from. And what you probably should do, you have one person that's smoked off cat. It's really hard for them to get into this round, but what they can do with that cat smoke up is, and the info, because your con player has a lot of info here, knows that they can't be up in this corner or up in ladder, which is like the really big thing preventing their B player, or that would prevent their B player from staying up cat. So you have 2 options. You have one, you leave B weaker, you have no one random, just stay there, and anchor however he wants, jump spot, get info. He is a bit low on utility though, I think. Yeah, because he used the smoke up into apps here. You have your cat player spot the con, walk up from like this corner is the safest spot to do it from, just because you control the fights a bit more and you can't really be seen well from anyone jumping up bench. And you have your second A player fall back, get onto A site because you know that they're not numbers mid. It lets you double A, or you can even, like, even if you aren't sure, maybe they think they have another lurk. I don't hate going around window here, repositioning and taking another fight, because again, with how quiet mid is, you know they're probably not a lot of numbers mid, and you could potentially get more info and full clear it, and let your, like, let your B player rotate on the B site, and you might still have time to either rotate back jungle or all the way around CT to help A. But that's a bit greedier, a bit harder to do. But I don't hate it. Like, if you want to be taking fights here, like this con player seems to want to, then can be a pretty solid play. Then the other option is, of course, if you think that they left mid to go B, you just like rotate over to B and do the same thing and leave control to either solo A from under Balk like this, or you could even push into Palace and kind of play retake from Palace. You could play retake from CT too, but I think taking the extremity could be a bit more valuable, but it's a lot riskier and a lot harder to do. So it might just be the best play to stay put. You don't know where they are. They could be walking out. They could be like out Tetris here. So if you try to reposition, it's risky. So you can just stay put and hope that you can get 1 to 2 kills if they do come A on you. But anyway, the CTs will end up, seems like he kind of has an idea that they're not numbers mid with that stairs peak, but he's not confident enough about it to commit to it. But the A-nades do start coming out, and that's when they start rotating, so just really awesome drop from control there to get 3. Makes it a very winnable round going into the 2v1 when they were in a really awkward spot, especially with the op getting the entry pick there. So, not necessarily a slow reaction from the CTs. As soon as they have the info that the Ts are coming A, they do make the good rotates over. Their stairs player tries to come like top stairs and help his A teammate, and their B anchor starts to leave. All of that's good. I think they just missed when the decision point was to try to change the decision point in the round was to try to change their positioning, and that's when the con player gets the kill. Overall though, on the T side, we didn't talk about it much of that round, but I really like the play to go mid, get the kill, and then just instantly, no noise, walk away towards A ramp. It was a really good decision from them, I think, in the sense that they're doing something together. They're keeping the CTs guessing. The CTs had no idea that they had grouped up towards ramp, so they were in a good spot. And they get the entry, they just can't trade out the underbelt guy, and that happened, so a bit unfortunate from them. And now they are going to be going towards B. Might have been able to do a little bit more to stay alive as a B anchor, but overall going 1 for 1 and getting the molly up to split them up isn't bad at all, and it's about all you can really ask for. The only thing you maybe could have done there instead of trying to play close, you might have been able to fall back to Van Pillar. But if you prefer these close fights or aren't confident in these fights, then it's completely fine to stay close. The main benefit of falling back here, or even if you can get to empty pillar, is it lets your cap player help out a bit more, but it's hard to know whether or not you'll have the ability to do that, so I don't mind staying close at all. You get your 1, make it an easy retake. Overall pretty good. A nice anti-eco. Another buy. It looks like the Ts aren't going to be bothering with mid control, and the CT's still putting in a lot of numbers to fight it. This is like, I think the second time I've seen this top mid smoke, by the way, and so there is a newer smoke that's come out in CS2. It's hard for me to show it from the demo viewer, but if you pretty much stand in this left side of the trash can and aim at the top of the antenna, instead of landing up here on cat, it bounces off the steps and lands here, and what it does is it spills over, and you end up having a top mid smoke that kind of covers this whole area. It lets you cross the boxes, denies the CTs a lot of info. I'm sure Nardart here has some video showing the lineup for it, if that wasn't a good enough description, or if I described it incorrectly. But that's just one small improvement you could also make to deny a little bit of extra info. But now we do have the exit coming in. And the CT's not in a terrible spot to defend it, but they will not win the fights that they need to, and a really nice con split to come up as well and help it. I'd say the one thing is just overall a good exec, good trades, good spacing, and got all the kills they needed to, and then the lurk just completely closes the round out instantly, gets 2 kills coming up con, so nice job from the Ts. CTs, I think, just getting a little overzealous to fight it. Their name is No Aim, No Brain, so that might just be their game plan, and I think it's a very valid game plan to just disrespect any smokes that your opponents throw, go through them and just take the aim duels. If you think that you're going to out-aim your opponents, it's a really solid game plan to just make sure you're doing that. As long as you're fighting together and going together, if you're all doing it together and you win, like if you go 1-for-1, you have another teammate that swings out, goes 1-for-1, and you have your A anchor go 1-for-1, it puts you in a 2v2 retake. And if that's the kind of situation you want to be in, that's not bad. Obviously, you'd like to get multi-frags going through. You'd like the second guy to come through to get 2 instead of 1. Blah, blah, blah. But overall, my main point is it's still a very valid way to win rounds. And they are definitely confident in their aim with how much they're fighting mid. Let me pause it though real quick just to say the main issue with the way they played, I guess on that last A exec, they have right wall smokes up. You have one triple. You have one person swing out, take this fight, while you have a teammate triple. He doesn't get his one, triple gets one. If this guy gets 1 kill, it makes it a much easier round. But the main issue, I might have just missed it, so I'll go back actually, just to double check. The main issue is you're just kind of going through dry. You just get in front of the smokes and you don't have any like help from your teammates. You have an opper in jungle. If you just have this opper, instead of taking a shot through the smoke, if they just toss a flash over this wall, kind of, or better over bench or over triple if you can, or your teammates rotating in from CT, they can throw flashes over this building to blind bench. It makes that way easier. So instead of just playing already in front of the smoke and trying to hold these angles, you can kind of play inside of the smoke, wait for team flashes, and then as soon as you have flashes, you swing out and you can fight with your triple player, and it makes that much better. But again, just going through early and dry can be good, but you kind of need to commit a few more numbers to it if you're not going to have those flashbangs. So anyway, sorry for getting a little or maybe a little bit too nitpicky into that round, because again, it's a fairly small thing, and I think their game plan is definitely to just aggressively take fights to the T side, as they are fighting again for mid. Really nice flashes from the T's coming out though, so it's a nice drop from the CTs to trade even better than evenly, with no one random getting 2. And at that point, you know that the mid push, like the entire mid take, is cleared out. They saw 1A and 1B, I believe. The jump spotter saw this guy B, and the CT player saw this guy ramp. So you have all the info in the round, get another kill, and now it's really a difficult 3v1. He is able to get 1, picks up an op, so I'll stop fast forwarding. Isn't able to get the second though. Nice try from him. Had the right idea. If he gets that kill, it's a very winnable 1v1. But nice job from the CTs to trade out mid there. Really good flashes from the Ts. I don't know that there was really much they needed to do differently. I think it's just one guy living with 1 HP. If that trade goes the other way, the round's just a completely different story. You probably win that round with the Ts if that guy has 8 less health. They go straight back into the A take with pistols. They are playing retake on A again, doubling towards like jungle and window, or sorry, jungle and con. I do like the setup from the CT side, especially against pistol rounds. It's really nice if you're not expecting them to be able to have this right wall smoke, so just play, you can play a lot of long range angles here. I'd say like the one thing they did is once they knew the A take was happening, the opera probably needs to fall a bit further back. Instead of trying to peek top stairs with a pistol, just like either playing from bottom stairs, which is a lot harder. You can go into con as well. And it lets your cat teammates from cat help you a lot more, and they probably could have kept a few more numbers alive there. But overall, solid round. The T's wanted to take jungle, they just kind of guessed wrong. They were hoping that the op would play retake A again, I think, but they just kind of lost the coin flip on it. I do like how much this op has been moving around though. CT jungle, or CT like con stairs area and window in 3 consecutive rounds, so I do like that from them, but another just aggressive mid take from the Ts, and they get the trades to go their way. This is where Mirage gets really hard, because you can see we're minute 20 left in the round, and we have a guy in window. It's a really awkward 3v3, and I don't really know what else could be done by the CTs here to prevent it. So we have just 3 people jump out. The opera sees 2, and then Udirect's playing really aggressively in connector again, so maybe that's a potential... he just loses the spam battle. Nothing... I don't know. Nothing too much he could have done. I think they might be unexpected to have the op just posted on Cat. He's trying to push up and help his teammate, and he just gets opt by someone. Oh no, sorry, he gets just shot by someone holding sure. Never mind. There's the CTs with the op. I don't know. I think it's just a hard round. I think once your opper sees two people jump out mid, you're smoked here. It's really hard to continue to aggressively fight into mid when you have only a player coming up Cat, because you're kind of forced into a 1v1 from con somewhere, or even a 1v2 a lot of the time. So it's just hard fights to win, and then it's really difficult to run up Cat. I'd say the one thing they could have done, Cat player, if you toss a flash over this building, it'll blind anyone on this wall and let you take those fights a lot easier and a lot more safely. And that could have kind of changed this round. I don't think the con player really did anything wrong. Lost the spam battle. It kind of looked like he should have got the kill, to be honest, so really unlucky from him. Like from his POV at least. So overall not too bad. Just a really aggressive mid take from the T's. I do like that they just run into this smoke. When you see that the other team isn't really fighting for mid, I think just getting past this smoke can be really strong. Maybe could use an extra flash to make it a bit safer since they almost died to the spam, but overall just another really close round that could have gone either way. And really nice awareness to find the window boost player here and keep it back into a 3v3. But once again, once you get these kills mid, you know that you saw two jump out mid early, saw two bottom con and the Cat player, so you knew three were mid, you killed two, so you know there's another mid lurk. They've had an A lurk pretty consistently. I really like Control taking into Palace here. I think he made the fast decision as soon as they saw numbers mid, took an extremity, and they took apps as well. So taking both Palace and apps can be a bit risky just because taking both extremities can be bad. So in this case it's a bit different. You know their numbers mid, so I don't hate taking both, though it does kind of put you in an awkward spot where you don't really have a fast A rotate or a fast B rotate, but when you lose your Cat player you kind of need to take calls. So I don't know that there's anything better that they could have done here as CTs other than the Opper is just in a really awkward spot. Maybe once he gets that window kill, he just needs to kind of get himself out of dodge, because you have a teammate pushed Palace, you know there's one more mid, so you're really susceptible to getting split on from these two angles. They could even have a second boosted window, and it's just a really hard spot to be in. So I wouldn't mind having him like fall back potentially into jungle to just kind of make it so that instead of having to hold con and like bottom stairs area, you can kind of just hold this one angle here. But he did just get a couple of kills, so he's trying to keep them in this round by clearing out that last mid guy potentially. He knows that he's probably coming up con. But yeah, just a really awkward spot to be in. Maybe if, yeah, Palace comes back and spots Sandwich, that really bails him out. Maybe the T is just slowing down a little bit too much here. I don't think they took advantage of the offer being in an awkward position well enough. It was a really good start to the round to get the space early, but then you get the kill here, you get someone in window, and you kill a con player. Once you have that player in window, it's really strong. You can just go up con and try to split anyone holding jungle with the window player, and it makes it a lot easier to get that A split. But even at that point, once you get into stairs and you have someone con, I don't really know why you're just waiting. You have one person in this aggro spot con and one person in this aggro spot in Sandwich. They know about the con guy. They probably know that this hole that the guy could lurk into Sandwich with is open. So, I don't know. It seems like the perfect opportunity to just double peek and take jungle control. Maybe have the con guy lead and the stairs guy play to trade him, since they know the con guy's probably there. At least the Opper seemed a lot more aware of him. So they maybe just kind of lost their timing a little bit waiting like that. But other than that, not too bad. Just ended up working out really well for the CT side. Going to be a much slower round, last round of the half here from the T side, as they're on a bit of a weak buy. They will throw some mid nades out. They throw top con and window. I think potentially trying to fake a cat split. I do like that when they're not going out mid, they're throwing less utility. Can make it a bit more readable, but they do still at least have one person getting info. Really nice first kill on the CT player. and they use that top con smoke. So this is the nice part about it. They're faking the mid control, and they still have the top con smoke that they can use to take A. They missed the timing on it a little bit, but no cat player to punish. And they are missing some shots, but overall, a pretty solid take from the T's. And they do get into a 2v1. Could be a bit of an easier round if they just hit some shots a bit sooner, but I really like the idea. You have the mid fake with the window smoke, top con smoke, and then just throw a CT smoke and go out A. Maybe you could have done it like a second or two faster so that this top con smoke will still be up when they're taking jungle, or even re-smoke it when you're throwing the CT smoke. But overall, just a good idea from them to do it. Kind of gets the CTs in an awkward spot as they have one stairs, one ticket. And the T's once again, or the CT side once again, playing really aggressively around the smoke. I don't hate it because they're doing it together and it's their game plan, but when you're not winning the fights, it feels really bad, makes the rounds really hard. So a bit unfortunate from them to not be able to take better advantage of the smoke pushes. Maybe not take better advantage is the wrong word, but just not get the kills. Will be a delayed A take. Decent CT setup. I think if you do have double CT here, it can be better to potentially just hide one so that they're not ready for 2 CT if they try to take the CT control, but instead they're just going to double fight and even push out CT. It works really well. I think it's a very unexpected play, a very unorthodox play. That's not something I would do, but it caught him off guard. It worked really well, so I can't complain at all. I would play a lot. When you have 3 people on like Cat and B, I'd be playing a lot further back, playing to like prevent the CT take and playing for the retake, but they just keep taking the fight. The other team, one person stays CT holding this angle, one person pushed out to triple, and that triple push after they saw both CT, I think it just really caught them off guard, so it worked really well. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't have done it, but I think you made the right play because it worked. Nice. Perfect B setup. And I know it sounds kind of stupid to say it's the right play because it worked. I think there's a difference between like saying that in a scrim. If you're like practicing, if you're doing this a lot in practice, it's kind of questionable. Like if you're doing it a lot and like having it be a consistent thing that you're doing is you're pushing out into triple and trying to catch and like really just trying to rely on the other team being caught off guard in your play, and that's like what you're practicing to be able to do. I think it's a little bit questionable to do that because it's a bit of a coin flip play, to be honest. Because if they just have one person like holding for it, or they have the right wall smokes, they might just be scaling up and just looking at triple like this instead of the smokes, and then you don't catch anyone off and you instantly die, and it's a hard retake. So it's a very risky play, but when you're doing it in a match, it's very different logic behind it in the sense that you're playing against these specific opponents on the T side versus just like trying to have consistent like good decision making. So if you're playing against those like these specific people and you just know like, yeah, I can definitely do this against these guys. I'm just going to be confident. I'm going to do it, and if it works, then you really can't fault, I think, anyone for making those plays, but it puts it into a lot of gray area because if he just instantly dies, you're going to be calling it a bad play. So you got to make sure that like when you're critiquing those plays in a demo review after the fact, like this one, like if he instantly dies there, you got to take it with the same grain of salt and kind of establish in your team whether you want teams or specific players to just be going for these confidence gamble plays where they're making a read on the other team, just being like, yeah, these guys aren't going to hold this is going to catch them off, and I can multi-frag here. Because if you're right about these decisions, they're complete game changers. So you really want to make sure you're allowing your players to be able to make these decisions, though you don't necessarily want to like critique them too hard if they get it wrong. So if you want someone to be making these confidence plays, then encourage it, and if you don't, then make sure that I guess they're aware of it, I think is the main thing. Because a lot of the times confidence plays, you're going to lose the coin flip about you're going to use, I won't say as consistently as you win it, because you want your star players to be making the right gamble plays at the right time so that they have a good success rate, but you at the same time want to make sure that you're aware that you're not going to win those gamble plays all the time, and don't be too hard on people if they get them wrong. Nice smoke, but not able to get him coming through it. I did kind of miss a little bit of that start of the round. They take Palace, gets the smoke off, but they just kind of disrespect it. I do like you have 3 people of Cat just running through that smoke and getting the trade. It's a really just solid play. You have the numbers advantage and you're not being scared of the smoke. Put you in a really solid spot. And I really like this buy from the CTs, by the way. They had, I think, 5 SMGs this round. I think they were going to be missing a lot of util if they tried to do like a full M4 buy. So I think my teams have been calling it a liquid buy. I think Liquid started doing it earlier, but it's probably a lot of teams doing this in CS2, just using the fact that the MP9s can win you rounds. So instead of kind of taking a really iffy buy with just 5 rifles, limited util, or like some rifles, some SMGs, and mixed util, you're just getting decent util and SMGs, giving yourself a really winnable round that feels a lot better than an eco round, but not sacrificing your economy to do it. And I like that they had a plan around it too. They double took Palace. They had a guy in ladder to spot the cat push. If that SMG in ladder gets the smoke off a little bit faster and is able to just get 1 to 2 coming through that smoke, it can be a different round. But overall, just good idea from the CT side to do that, have a plan behind it, and now they still have a good buy. They are missing some util, but they have an op, they have they have 4 rifles, only missing a few nades. They're just kind of playing a default round from the CT side, while the Ts looks like they threw window bottom con. I think the one thing that I'm not a huge fan. Actually, no, never mind. That's the CT smoke bottom con and CT smoke cat. So it does a nice job of slowing them, the T side down, makes them use another smoke window, makes it slower for them to scale up cat. I think the Ts are doing a pretty solid job of trying to get this A split to work. They get the cat smoke off. I think they might have missed their timing just a little bit by letting the A-lurk die, or maybe the A-lurk went out a little bit too soon, but overall, pretty solid. They stay together, have decent spacing, and I like slowing the round down here in this 2v2. They're not rushing the plant. They have one person holding on to map control, and in a spot where you can control rotates. It keeps this round winnable even when your site player goes down. It's a lot harder to play grouped in these situations where you don't know where the 2 CTs are, because if you try to swing and take a 2v1, it could just as easily be a 2v2. So I don't mind just separating it up into 2 1v1s, because it can be a lot easier to just get the info, and you could potentially have played in a spot where it's easier to stay alive from the site player rather than just kind of playing side triple and committing. Maybe you go like back default or firebox so that you can try to stay alive if you see anyone come in CT, or even just like there's a safe spot you can plant right here so that you're not exposed to connector or jungle or CT, or sorry, connector or CT, and you kind of plant for jungle right here. Your stairs blocks you from connector and you're not open to CT. That could have been a really good play as well, so that you're planning for the jungle player. But overall, I think it's a really good situation to split up in a 2v2 there. And a nice couple of kills from the B player as they do get mid-info. It's kind of awkward anti-eco. I do like the CTs though. Again, they had a plan coming in this anti-eco. Try to push under. They don't get the kills, but they're at least doing something. Give themselves a chance to win the round. Make it really awkward for the Ts at the very least. But once again, their money's really low. They are missing a lot of util, so I like again that they're having an idea. They're getting aggressive. They are struggling a bit to fight together, but they do eventually get the trades, and now it's not going to be all on this B player if they do speed up on him. But they don't have bombs, so they can't. I do like the one player lurking pretty aggressively once that molly comes out. He has a timing where he's in front of the molly, but maybe lurking a bit too aggressively with his teammate leaving. They kind of just really relying on the lurks to find some space here. They do get one, and it's just a really awkward round. So when you lose those mid fights here, I don't hate it at all from the Ts. I think it's a pretty solid play. Oh, never mind. They didn't even have 2 lurks. They just had... Wait. Okay, I think my map was just... He did walk out Palace. The skull was just showing back at Palace for some reason. So you lose the 2 picks mid. You know that they're fighting for mid. You got 2 kills and you lose 2. You know there's 1 more mid. You're not able to go out for the trade. But it does mean that you probably have 2 1v1s on the site players. There, in this case, Stairs and Bench was Van. But it puts you in a spot where, kind of similar to the last 2v2, you can kind of take 2 1v1s, and if you win 1, then it keeps you in a 2v2, lets the bomb know where to rotate, kind of simplifies the round for you. But it is in a spot where you're taking 1v1s, so there's probably ways that you can try to optimize that. But I think, end of the day, it's simple stats. You take 2 50-50s, you're bound. It's more likely that you win one of them than you lose both of them. So I don't hate the play. It's a decent, nice, simple decision that you can reliably make and be correct rather 75% of the time, I think. You either win both 25% of the time, lose both 25% of the time, or go 1 for 1 50% of the time. So it's a 75% chance to have a good outcome. And that is like the, I guess, math way to think about it. So overall, it's just like a solid thing to do, though there's probably ways that you can try to optimize it. But if you try to group up there when you're that spread out, it lets the CTs make similar decisions. So I'm not sure if that just makes it a wash or just the best play to do something else there. Really aggressive play from the con player to try to clear under. I think the T's hadn't been using under too much, so I don't mind going for the 1v1 there. Keeps it from being awkward, lets you try to have a hold on the mid, but one thing you could probably do to try to make it a bit easier is if you have the bottom con smoke up, you have one person in window, they're going to get smoked off like they have been every round, and instead of just leaving, you can right click a flash or left right a flash so that your underpass player can swing with a flash, or sorry, your con player can swing into underpass with a flash. It can make that a lot more consistent. But overall, like a solid fight to be taking from your con player, it's like the type of things you kind of need to do. And decent reactions from the T's, or from the CT side, to take an extremity when you lose that map control. Definitely caught off a little bit. I think one thing you probably could do as well here is you rotate, you have one player push into halls. And that makes it so that this player can kind of leave and pick up CT, and your opper bumps over towards A, just for the fact that in general on this map, I think the majority of the time teams are going to be going up con versus going up cat, at least in like outside of pro play. Like in like open to advanced and like more normal or like more amateur level league matches, at least here in NA, a lot of teams are just going to make the easier split here. They're usually going to have an A lurk versus having a B lurk, and it makes this con split a lot easier. So I think playing for that can be a lot better, because it's also just harder to hold A solo. So if you're not going to play retake A, like I guess your 2 options here are to either have this player just fully push into ramp and play retake from like inside a ramp, maybe catch someone coming back from T-spawn with the bomb, or find a lurk. You kind of just take that 1v1, give the site, in which case keeping 2B and 1 CT is really good. But if this player is going to stay in a spot where he's trying to take fights, you kind of need the support from the opper to either hold his palace, or more likely you're going to like have that ramp smoke up, go Tetris to hold the palace walkout or something along those lines, and let the opper try to take these fights into con from triple or top ticket. And then this guy can just rotate into market, because B is a lot easier to just to hold for maps here, because just 2 angles versus 3 that you really need to worry about. Even 4 on A if you count jungle and con as 2 different spots. But either way, still a decent chance for the CTs in this round, as it is a 3v3 and one of the easier to retake sites. I do have a mag 7 though, and not a lot of util. So might be in a spot where they kind of need to get a pick or save. Yeah, the off goes down there. Ooh, just wins 2 fights from fire. Wow, that was a nice shot. Really nice attempt in that 1v1, hit a couple nice shots. I don't think they did necessarily anything wrong in that retake, they just got caught off guard by a guy swinging firebox. Swinging firebox is, it's hard. I think you could probably justify hiding because you know they're lower utility, but if you're scared of a molly at all, you kind of just need to pick a timing and take a fight, and he picked a great timing, so it worked out really well from them. But definitely a bit tilting, I think. The CT side just lose the timing battle like that. They push under here with pistols, a little spread out, but they do have 3 people that are in a spot to fight mid. The T is just completely ignoring it though. Not really a whole lot you can do with the 5-7 from this anchor spot once you get spotted like that. There is a slightly better way to jump spot that I'll bring up here in a second, or a slightly safer way. So what you can do is you get spotted out, you're going left to right like this. So you're jumping out here, and there's less of a wall. You're running into a wall, which makes it kind of harder, or a bit harder. So because you're going left to right, your body ends up being exposed a lot longer, so it's easier for the T's to hit shots on you, and you're kind of making it harder for yourself to reposition just because it'll take a lot longer. You'll have to make more noise trying to get out to either van pillar or under window. So you're kind of stuck playing close once you get spotted like that. If instead you go left to right like this, what you do is you can jump later on, like pretty much when you're at the point where you nearly not see anything from jumping, so they only see you going up until you pass behind this wall. So they see you're on their screen for a lot less time, and then it lets you shift walk after you land. Like after you spot someone here, you can walk under window, walk to van pillar, or walk back to van. Might be better to run, but either way, if you want to be greedy, you could shift it and like try to not give them sound info, but it gives you 3 options. You can either go here, here, or here very consistently, and they see you for less time. Whereas if you go right to left here, you're kind of forced to stay in this corner or stay close. You might be able to get out here if they're going slow, but it's a lot harder to cross back to van pillar or bench. And it's just, you are probably going to be taking more damage and dying to ops a little more often, jump spotting right to left. So that's like one small thing you can improve on, but again, it's a really small thing. And there's a really hard spot there anyway, just 1v5 against a 5-7. And good spacing overall from the T side. Really nice job just taking that site cleanly from them. Now 12-8, CT's on a bad buy. This would be a perfect time to play a slow round, I think. I love playing slow rounds when there's pressure on the enemy team. And they are going to go into just like a pretty aggressive mid default. Taking too many fights maybe early top mid. They had 2 teammates underpass, and there was a CT smoke under that they should have been calling because they see it from here. I think when you know that smoke's up, you kind of need to play a bit more passive from top mid, even if you have your smokes. Unless that was just a missed window smoke, which it might have been. But just because I didn't see a window smoke here. But probably just a little too aggressive there on the default. Might be better just say, dang, we lost 2 smokes, let's just wait for our underpass players to come out and make sure the CTs can't take aggressive fights with numbers or flashes into us. But again, it's a fairly small thing. Nothing too bad. Nice job from the CTs, just playing aggressive mid, shutting down the mid take that the Ts have been pretty successful with in this half. And it makes this a really difficult 2v4. They do get onto site, try to get some smokes up to make it easier, but yeah, not much they can do. They just have no info for where the CTs might be. He started 3A here, so that's pretty unlucky. It's a kind of hard round to justify scrimming out A as well. I don't hate it. It's like, in considering the flow of the game, it's a really solid play to scrim out A. You've been doing a lot of mid stuff. You've seen them play aggressively in mid quite a few rounds, so I don't mind scrimming out A. You go no real early util, and you just like try to catch them by surprise. You do get the first entry on the guy triple. Really unlucky that they're just playing 3A there. Otherwise, this round could have been a lot more winnable. Like if they're pushing mid with 2 again there, then this round can be really easy all of a sudden. So a bit unfortunate. You could maybe argue that doing the scrim out A the previous round against lower utility from the CTs is better, but at the same time, I don't think there's really any problem with calling it there. You just kind of take the gamble and lose, but you have at least 2 rifle rounds to work with to try to close this game out. So I don't mind just calling a play like that where you can just instantly win if you're correct and they're fighting for mid. You can just instantly have A, get all the CT, and likely be in like a 5v4 or 4v4. So not bad. They're going to try something similar here with pistols. But again, not going to have too much success. Good setup from the CTs. They're fighting into it fairly aggressively, but they're kind of doing it together as well. But there's also just less utility, less weapon from the T side on these rounds than the A execs we had in the first half. Alright, potentially here, the last round, and the Ts are going to go back to what was working a lot in this half and do this mid-take. The CT does flash for himself into underpass, so that's good. Unfortunately, he just goes too early, and I think his flash popped before this guy peeked underpass, so I like the idea. I like that they're using the flash for it there. But yeah, they just don't get the kills, and they lose the pickup mid, so the Ts will just have all the map control in mid, and 2-man advantage. Makes it really awkward. CTs are in a weird spot, so I don't hate trying to stay around mid here as the A player. Taking extremities is really predictable because you know that they have a lot of numbers mid. They may have an A lurk, but when you're staying towards mid like this, you're either gambling that they don't, or you maybe have info that all 4 or 5 of them are out mid. So taking those extremities when they're 5 out mid is a lot worse because they can kind of just ignore you. So I like playing more aggressively in a spot where you can get some potential multi-frag to bring your team back into this round. But yeah, not a whole lot they can do here. I think they're in a decent spot. I really like playing aggressively in con, but nice job slowing it down from the T side here. They almost lose that timing, but this round just gets really hard. I do like, it seems like they're waiting for their player to come up. No, they're going for the split. They're just committing for it with a market smoke. Okay, the market smoke makes that a much easier split to take. Even though you kill the A player, and they have a mid player and a B anchor, I think it's a really good play to just continue to go B. That's where you have the numbers. You have someone that you already rotated into apps to make this play. So like they made this call when they had the 5v3. They were 5 mid and then someone left and went apps. So they made this call really early on, and when you have a big numbers advantage, it's really good to just kind of commit to the call and just be like, this is the call. It's the simplest, easiest thing for us to do, and if we just 5v2, we win the trades. Like, let's not panic and overthink things. So nice job from them to commit to it, even though they are going into like the anchor and potentially a double stack on B. But the other thing is, like, this Opper, if he just plays towards B when you're down 12-11, and then it's just a hard decision to make because it gives you the best chance to win the round, but it also makes it so that you don't really have a chance at the round if you guess wrong. So they probably know that they're not going to just have 2B there. I think it's a really rare decision that teams will double up there, even though it might technically be the right play. It just feels so bad to split up and potentially have to go into a 2v5 retake onto a site when you're up against match point. I think overall, though, both these teams played really well. This looked like a much better game than I would be expecting from the Open 1-8 demos. So I've watched 2 Open 1-8 demos from NA teams, and both of them I've been like pretty impressed with. The teams are playing together well. They have good team play, good trading, good spacing. There's obviously like a lot of missed shots and like a lot of small mistakes, but it's just like small mistakes only. Overall, like good team play. I wasn't sure if what I guess level Open 1-8 was, if it was more. I'm sure there's a lot of just pug teams in it that are just like playing League for their first time, maybe not practicing, or they might not know their teammates, or they're just playing with friends that they pug with on Faceit. But I've been really impressed with the 2 demos I've watched so far. Teams that are like really showing that they put in effort and practice and are approaching maps in like good, like fundamentally pretty good ways. I think both the teams had obvious game plans. Both of them wanted to fight for mid pretty aggressively, and they had like set plays that they were calling from spawn. Maybe not fully set plays, but things that they've definitely done before to fight for mid with numbers and try to give themselves different looks in the round. I think Mirage is one of the best maps to try to do that on. You want to make sure that you're not just playing like a standard setup every round. You want to, like, I think playing no aim, no brain do a few times in the first half, playing like double from like con jungle side, fully giving A and having more numbers towards mid can be a really strong thing to do. It's a really easy change up to make. I think that's maybe one thing that 5 and Pit could have done a little bit better. I think there was a lot of times in the half where they were playing. I think they didn't want to change things up too much. They were kind of trying to play their standard setup and I guess trusting themselves to be able to play it well enough to win the rounds. And while that can be good, it could be worthwhile as well to just start adding in variations in practice, not necessarily matches where you're, playing more heavy towards mid, or I like the 3A variation that they did. That was really good. They had a mid take variation where they double pushed up mid. So it's not like they weren't doing it. They were just feeling a lot more comfortable, I think, falling back. They do like one or two change ups and then fall back into their default setup a lot more. But their default setup was having a lot less success, I think, in this game. So it might have been better for them to to more consistently try their um I guess their different setups where they're more aggressive in mid or AAA or something, just because they were having more success in it. But that's again a really small nitpicky thing, where I don't think the way they're approaching the map was bad at all. They were in good spots. They were consistently getting good info on like numbers in mid, so that was really good. And the T sides as well. Mirage can be a really difficult map to stay on the same page in the mid round. A lot of the time, it can be really easy to, you have someone go take into ladder or jump window, and at the same time, you're getting con control, and then it kind of splits up your pack a bit and can make these rounds really awkward. But both these T sides were doing a nice job staying focused and making sure that they didn't split up too much to the point where you can't really do anything in the mid round because you're too split apart. Like, even though it feels really awkward to have three or four on cat like around these spots, like the T's I think did one round earlier in this half, while they're waiting for their player to rotate back into apps and set up the B split. I think just like holding those setups, kind of sitting in mid and letting the split happen, especially when you have man advantage, can be a lot better than splitting up and then making it so that you can't commit to any one idea very well. So a nice job from them. It shows that they're whoever's calling, if it's just an IGL or if they're relying on mid-round calls from anyone, they're making decisions early enough that teams are able to plan around it and doing a really good job with that. Yeah, I think the main thing that probably could have been improved on from both these teams is just like changing what you're doing in the middle of the round on CT side a bit sooner and just kind of committing to it so that you're not like in the static spots as much. So there's a couple times in the first half where it'd be like a 4v4 and you'd get a lot of info mid and you'd kind of keep one connector, one cat, one B, one A. And I think both teams were doing this. If you can kind of recognize when those early fights have kind of run their course and try to transition into a second setup, either double A site, double B site, or retake A, whatever it might be, you can kind of do anything from these spots. It will make it a lot harder for the T's to mid round, and you'll probably find yourself in less 1vx situations, because there's a lot of 1v1s being fought around like connector and window in a lot of these rounds. So that would probably be like a big area where both of these teams could try to do a bit more, is instead of I feel like they're maybe playing their spots a little bit too much on the CT side, where once you're in con, you're kind of there for the round, and same with like jungle window. And I think some more aggressive rotations could have probably helped both of these teams on the CT side. But overall, really good stuff. I've been really impressed with what I've seen so far. So great job, guys, and congrats on the win for No Aim, No Brain.